Lion, Earth Spike damage has been increased at the earlier levels.
Yeah,
Okay.
fine. It's awful on level 1, and that's mainly where the buff is.
But people are still going to get Hex level 1 anyway.
Probably, but it makes you better on level 2.
True. By 10 damage. Lone Druid Spirit Bearer now has 300 mana. Spirit Bearer using Hand of Midas now grants the XP to Lone Druid. So my question to you, when I read this, if Spirit Bearer uses the Hand of Midas on the other side of the map, does that give Lone Druid the experience?
I have no idea.
Okay. And with having 300 mana, what's the purpose of this? Does this mean you can use items like Mjolnir?
Yes, it opens up for a couple of different opportunities for Lone Druid. So the obvious ones right now for late game are Abyssal Blade and Mjolnir, where you want to have them on the bear, but the bear can't use them.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatives are Mechanism, which used to be purchased actually a long time ago. There was a build called, like, I don't know if it was called Medic Bear or something like that, where you went mech and then you pushed towers really early. You played Lone Druid as a core and he gets really fast farm, so very early mech, and he's incredibly tanky. So that's an option. You can go for double Necro Book, so both your hero and the bear has one. I'm supposing that will work.
What about Blade Mail? That seems like it would be so good.
Maybe, yeah. Then they won't attack the bear for those.
You know what the best item on this bear is, actually?
No?
Teleport Scroll. You have to stun it. Right? Because you can't blink it back if they're attacking it.
That's true. If it can't recall, because it takes damage, if it can still TP, that's really cool if that works. That's a cool idea.
And
I mean, why
TPs
not?
were buffed.
I guess it will work. That's a really nice idea. Just always have one TP in one of the slots on the bear, so that if it gets caught, you can still get it out, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it gives... How much gold does it give? A lot, whatever it is. It's like
300. And it has a really long cooldown, so saving it is important. I like that. And then you can still get gimmicky stuff like Dagon and... but, well, you know. It's a global Dagon, though. You can just run the bear around and zap people.
You have Radiance. You get them low with the Radiance first.
Dagon on the bear. But the E-Blade will deal 0 damage because you have no agility on any stat.
Doesn't matter. The 40% extra from Dagon's all that matters, bro. Alright.
It can also get Magic Wand. That also has a mana cost. But
yeah, that's interesting.
BKB was usable before that had a 0 mana cost. Manta Style... I don't know if that's kind of garbage as well. I don't know. Okay.
Alright, Lycan. Shapeshift no longer grants 1.5 base attack time. I believe the default is 1.7 for all heroes. I'm assuming that's the case for Lycan. I know there's some exceptions. What is it?
That's not the same for all heroes, but
no, I said most heroes. Like, I know Juggernaut.
You said all.
I didn't. I said...
Even if you said most, you said all. Okay.
Whatever. Shapeshift cooldown increased.
Good.
A lot. I would say this is a lot, because this is one of the heroes, like, when you use his ultimate, you're like, okay, it's down for 20 seconds, then I can use it again. Not really the case now. It's probably the biggest nerf. Shapeshift, though, has been increased as far as movement speed is concerned. 522, of course, as you guys probably already know, isn't the max speed anymore. It's infinite, really. Now 650, and Shapeshift now has a 1.5 second transformation time. So my question about the 1.5 second transformation time is, since it's similar to Lone Druid, I wonder if you can, like, dodge spells and stuff with it.
And I wonder if you can move at the same time.
I doubt that. But yeah, I guess that's...
If you need to stand still while casting this, it's a huge nerf. Like...
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
But then it's kind of made up with the
speed,
speed, though,
and
isn't
you
it?
get ganked, right?
Yeah.
And previously you would cast Shapeshift and run away. Now, instead, you have to stand still for 1.5 seconds and then you can move. There's a really big difference between that and being able to walk while turning into a wolf. In addition to that, whenever team fights start, you need to be there early because else you'll fall behind the pack. And then, of course, you'll catch up with your 650, but I still think this overall... Like, if you take the 2 last changes in isolation, I still think this is a nerf overall. Mm-hmm. Even though you get really fast, the transformation time is a really big deal. And, of course, the first 2 are just flat-out nerfs, no matter how you look at it. So, big nerf to the hero. Not nerfing the wolves, no. Not nerfing Howl, not nerfing split push potential, but he's more... He's less of an incredible fighter and more of a pusher.
Well, we've talked about this before, how the game is balanced. It's not necessarily for things that people would assume. Like, the things you just mentioned are Lycan's biggest strengths, but something else was nerfed to make up for it. So they still have their identity. They just suck a little bit in other regards, which his ultimate apparently is the case today. Magnus, empower no longer removed by spell immunity. So you can get a BKB on Magnus himself. Wait, can you cast this on top of BKB?
I think that was in the list of abilities you can cast on magic immune allies now from earlier.
Okay, yeah, that's probably true.
So all interaction with BKB now works for Magnus.
So
that's
putting this on Sven with BKB.
Yep.
I mean, is this enough to bring him back? I mean, not this. He's pretty much not played that much, right?
Not really played much, no. I still feel like, you know, you generally want to get Magnus if you have someone who can use Empower. And now that it works with BKB, that pool is a lot bigger. Beforehand, you almost only got, like, let's say, a hero like Ember Spirit he was really good with, because Ember Spirit doesn't necessarily need BKB because he can use distance. But heroes like you said, Sven, PA, all those kind of melee carries, pretty much all of them have to get BKB in pro games. So now they can work with Magnus.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, the Empower mana cost rescaling makes him a little bit better in lane, and it's a little worse later on, but you don't have mana problems then anyway.
Okay,
I think this is good.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, this hero is just never seen, so... I mean, Empower is one of the cooler skills in the game, I think, for farm potential. Can get you back into that game. And actually, it's cooler, like I said, on Sven, and heroes like that already have cleave damage. So... I mean, I miss the one-shot rampages from Sven, don't you? I mean, I do. Medusa, mana shield damage absorption rate increased by 10%. The Mystic Snake outgoing speed has been increased, but the Mystic Snake return speed has been reduced a bit. Basically a buff, or definitely a buff.
Seems like arbitrary values, the old one.
Well, they just want to like even. It's like whoever's doing like Ice Frog doesn't do balance anymore. I don't know if you knew that. It's a guy that has complete OCD. Needs to have even numbers all around, or else it doesn't make any sense. Mystic Snake mana steal increased as well. This is a hero that we don't really see very often. I mean, I don't know. It's just here you need so many items on, but has so much potential, I feel, to be played. I mean, is this going to be enough?
Starting to get somewhere now. Like, the way I like to think of Medusa is as a siege tank. So now with even more absorption and an even better Mystic Snake, you just walk in the front lines and you tank up stuff. Your weakness is you need a lot of time before you deal significant damage, but if you build a lineup where Medusa fits in and you get to mid-late game, this hero is insanely good. The problem is she doesn't offer too much until that point, but now with the Snake getting better, the Snake getting faster, so it's harder to dodge in team fights for this team split out, etc. With her ultimate getting the rework it did recently, I still think this hero can go places, but it's also good, again, that they keep the identity. This hero, if you want it to be a carry, you need to give it a lot of time, but now it's reaching a point where it can actually be more and more useful without the farm as well. So I like it a lot. I hope we get to see it played. A lot of people think it's really boring, but with the new ultimate, with Mystic Snake, it's cool compared to the old one.
Well, I think people just remember what Medusa used to be, I guess, which was awful. I mean, if you guys that aren't privy to the history of Dota, it's probably equivalent to when Dota 2 was first shown, the Spectre anti-mages games. That was basically Medusa, except even worse, I feel. I don't know if that's necessarily the case anymore, though. I think, like you said, some of the buffs that she's gotten has made her a little bit more viable early on. And yeah, I mean, I like seeing new heroes, so why not? Meepo clones boots. Meepo clones' boot item slots now match whichever slot Meepo Prime has his boots. Okay, I don't even know what this means. I don't play this hero.
I think this is a nerf to Tranquils, right? Because if the main Meepo's Tranquils are broken, then the clone's Tranquils will also be broken.
Okay.
And if he has Agi-Treads, so will the others. But I think they did already, right? If you trade switched, your illusions also got that, or your clones.
What if you have multiple boots? For no reason.
Then you need to move them around and switch the slots. But in theory, you can do that. It's pretty.
I mean, does it literally use a specific slot?
Yes, top left.
Top left.
I think.
Okay.
If you have multiple boots, it will use the one top left. I think.
You haven't seen the 5 boot strat before? Like, what the hell? It's super viable.
We're being called out a lot on this Meepo. I never play this hero, by the way, so that's why. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, it's actually we're recording it while live streaming it, so we get some feedback from the chat. Okay, everyone is
Flame syndereN.
Hey, you didn't correct me. You were wrong. Well, okay, so
I'm like 2K MMR. Come on.
This is 1.5. So this is where I'm gonna just step out and be like, I don't know this hero well enough. This is how I imagined it. If I'm wrong, I need the right explanation for it because I don't know.
All right. In all seriousness, nobody cares about this change.
People say it's about key bindings and that this makes it easier to micro. Uh, okay, whatever. I don't know. This is not a, if the Tranquils thing isn't taken into account, then it's not a buff a buff or a nerf. Then it's neither, right? Then it's just a convenience change,
You
right?
guys can continue to have the 30% win rate, and I will continue to have the 0% win rate in pubs with this hero, with or without this
Okay,
change.
someone says it's Boots of Travel nerf because it matches the one in the initial one, so that they can't all use Boots of Travel because the first one's on cooldown, the other ones are. That's also how I would interpret it, but
Okay. Anyway,
you
moving
know,
on to more
I'm
important
not going to
things.
guarantee this one. I'm not sure, simply, but that's how I
Mirana.
think it is that they're matching.
Going from one of the least played
Okay.
heroes to one of the most played heroes in Mirana. Leap speed reduced by 400, so slight nerf there. But at the same time, leap distance has been rebalanced, and it's overall a buff for the last 2 levels. I don't really
Yeah.
think. I mean, what does this change exactly? I mean, I guess is this enough time? This 400 speed being reduced, is that enough to actually catch her in mid-air or something?
Uh, well, the second part is OCD at least,
Yeah.
and
Well, of course. Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything particular. Nothing comes to mind about this value that's really important. That traveling at 1600 instead of 2000 makes a difference. But
Well,
I guess it gives you more chance to catch her midair, like you said. I can't
Okay.
think of anything else that's.
Okay, moving on. Nature's Prophet, Nature's Call, Nature's. Oh, his. Ugh.
Yeah, the trains don't have magic
Yeah.
resistance.
Okay. Easy peasy. I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
his 2 of his skills have very similar names. Nature's Call and Nature's Wrath. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is it Wrath of Nature? See, too confusing. Talk about OCD. Change those freaking names. Necrophos, Reaper's Scythe added respawn time penalty from 30% to a constant 30 seconds. So what I want to know is worst case scenario. Let's say, or best case in terms of Necrophos. If you kill, like, forget about these changes right now. Okay.
Okay.
If it was 30%, the longest you can be dead for is 120, right? Or is it 90? Like if you're level 25 and you die, how long are you dead for?
100 seconds.
All right. So 100 seconds.
But then there can also be the buyback penalty on top of that.
Right.
But let's just say 100 seconds, right?
Okay.
Then you would be dead for exactly 30 seconds
So
longer.
this is
better
major
on
buff.
every single level
So you kill
until level
somebody
25, which is
like
even.
yeah, if you're at level 6 and some terrible support on the other team who's been AFK trolling his team or whatever is level 1, you kill him with the Reaper's Scythe. He's dead for 30 seconds basically, plus whatever in addition he's already got there. That's pretty cool. I mean, I remember when this was first introduced for the Ags. It was one of those cool mechanics that we haven't seen before, and it hasn't felt there's been any impact on it whatsoever. But I like this. He has an identity. The thing I don't like is that his first skill is just garbage. Well, okay, it's not garbage. I just wish that it would have a faster projectile. I don't know what
That's
it
the
is. It
weakness
really
of it.
bothers me. I know it's such a weakness, though. I can't stand it. Give him another weakness, okay? Get rid of all these buffs to his ultimate. Then give him the speed on the projectile. I'll be happy. Hero we never really see, though. I don't know if that's
Speaking
a
of
good thing,
which,
though. Speaking of which, your other favorite hero, Nightstalker. Hunter in the Night attack speed has been increased, and darkness duration has been increased at the first 2 levels, and most notably the first. All right, I'll just leave this to you, because this, like I said, is your favorite hero. Among with, like,
this is good. It's a step in the right direction because I think, off the top of my head, Darkness flat out one of the 3 worst ultimates in the game on level 1. It's really bad. Now it's definitely worth. I think it's almost always worth skilling on level 6 now. Previously, a lot of Nightstalkers would just skip it entirely until they had maxed out Void and Hunter in the Night. Maybe with an optional sound.
You cut out there, bro.
Yeah, sorry, someone called me. I just muted.
Unbelievable.
And in addition to that, okay, that threw me off a little bit. So it's a lot better on level 1, and it's better on level 2 as well. And then in addition to that, like the timing with the night is what was really what killed Nightstalker when they changed the day-night cycle from being 6 minutes to 4 minutes, because the time he peaked before had really good synergy with when he got strong as a hero. And now the peak is off. But with a 40-second ultimate duration, maybe you can get that extra gank off. Maybe you can get your peak, make it happen a little bit earlier. I don't know if this is enough, though. I think he might get buffed again in the next version, but at least it's...
I think the major
good step
problem
in
with
the right
darkness
direction.
is the cooldown at the early levels is so bad. But
Yeah, it's really high cooldown as well.
I feel like this hero is so unique and so fun to watch that just buff the crap out of him. I don't care if he's OP, at least he's going to be fun to watch. And syndereN will come out of retirement if that happens, of course.
He
Ogre
used to
Magi.
be the #1 pick early in Dota 2. When
That's
the hero
because
pool
there
was
was like
smaller.
6 heroes to choose from. Come on. Doesn't mean
That was
anything.
50.
We had this conversation. It was like 35 or 40, okay? Which is nothing, because most of them were never played anyway. Ogre Magi, base HP regeneration has been increased by quite a bit. Fire Blast damage has been reduced at the earlier levels. The first 3 levels. Actually, all of them. Yeah, all the levels. 2 times multicast, though, to counteract this chance has been increased quite a bit, and multicast spread interval increased to... Okay, what does this mean exactly? So, when you stun somebody after 0.4 seconds, if you get a multicast that is, after 0.4 seconds the stun stacks. So, you're adding 0.1 second to each stun, essentially?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so that means the stuns last a little bit longer, and
So if you get 4 times
ignite
multicast, it
spreads
adds
a little
almost
bit
half a
slower,
second.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
and it spreads
okay.
a little slower.
Okay.
Which is sometimes better and sometimes worse, because it means they might move a little bit more so it hits more targets because they spread it more, or it might mean they hit less because they have more time to react. But overall, major buff, especially the HP regen I think is really great. He is a support in essence, right? And his main weakness is he's melee as a support. But with this, he can maybe be a little bit more in your face and actually take harassment battles.
Doesn't need
it's
to
a lot
necessarily
better to
buy
get
a lot of
multicast
regen,
now.
right?
That?
Doesn't necessarily have to buy a ton of regen.
Yeah, that's true. He can harass a lot better. And maybe we get to see some gimmicky solo mid, perhaps, because he's hard to harass out. It's like Nyx when he got a lot of HP regen boost. Another thing I noticed is that a lot of support Ogre Magi don't skill ultimate level 6.
Not going
And
to be the
instead
case
just
now.
maxed out. I don't think you will want to not skill on level 6 in it.
Yeah.
Just too good. So
Too good.
I like that.
What about offlane Ogre?
Yeah, good work.
I kind of like
I was
roaming
gonna
Ogre
say
a lot.
on Radiant, but now I need to see how it has changed. I think that comes a little bit later with how the offlanes have changed, right?
It's true,
So
yeah.
wait with that.
Omniknight, base armor increased by 1 and purification damage area of effect increased by 20. This is a hero
Unkillable now.
that is, I feel like he's not played, but he is so ridiculously strong. It angers me. It angers me how good this hero is. But he's rarely played. Not sure if this is going to make the hugest of differences.
Hey,
Maybe
what?
offlane, I don't know.
The chat keeps spamming this, Shannon. So now we're gonna end the Meepo talk once and for all, so we have
God.
taken care of it. Okay.
Yes.
So the only thing this change does is that. So what I told you before was that the boots were always in the top left, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now what the change does is that wherever you have the boots on your main Meepo is where all the clones have them too. So it's easier for them to use them.
I see.
Because else, let's say your main boot slot on the main Meepo, you like having your boots in top right, but all your clones would always have them in top left.
Okay,
Now,
I see. Yeah.
they all have them in the place you put them in the main one, and that's it. So I guess the cooldown on Tranquils still works the same way. Boots of Travel still work the same way. It's just the placement in the inventory.
I see.
Good.
So
Thank you,
another
guys.
so
It's dealt with. Let's move on.
so another OCD mechanic is what you're trying to say. Taken care of. Outworld Devourer. Essence Aura chance to activate is a static 40. And to counteract that, the Essence Aura percentage of mana restored reduced basically in the reverse way. And Aghanim Scepter for Sanity's Eclipse now always triggers the mana drain. Okay, so these first two, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, they just cancel each other out for the most part. If anything, it just makes it a little bit more consistent, maybe, to go off.
Yeah, it's more consistent, right? So you can more reliably get mana back. I don't want to get into the math here.
No, I don't want to either.
Better than average, but
yeah.
It's more reliable.
Aghanim Scepter, as far as I know, is rarely picked up on Outworld Devourer. I remember it used to be a little bit. I mean, it gives good stats. I don't think this changes anything as far as picking it up first or anything, but I mean, the mana drain is pretty ridiculous if I remember correctly. So maybe a
let's
luxury
look up
item?
the specifics on that. Let me find that. So I think the main reason this is being changed was that OD's Ags upgrade was pretty underwhelming compared to others. The only thing it did was that it increased the casting range by 100, and it increased the multiplier by 1. I think that was all.
Okay.
So that's really meh. When the multiplier already on level 3 is 10, then it's 10% extra damage compared to other Ags upgrades. It's really weak.
Yeah, okay.
Now it says here, if an enemy hero has an intelligence difference lower than 10/30/50 at level 1, 2, or 3, but greater than 0, he will lose 75% of his current mana. This means that when you have Ags on OD, everyone who gets hit lose 75% of their current mana, regardless.
It's really
So
good.
that's really powerful, actually.
That's insanely good. I mean,
yeah. And it's necessary because the Ags was too weak, so you needed to do something about it.
I mean, Aghanims I feel like it's a good item stat-wise for sure on a lot of heroes, and this is one of them. I still, like I said, you don't get it first, but it's something to consider.
Now it's worth it sometimes.
All right, PA, Blur Minimap Hide now has the opposite effect as it's active when no enemies are near. Explain this.
So, let me see, how was it used to work?
I always get it mixed up.
Yeah, so beforehand, if enemies were near, you would disappear on the minimap.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if no enemies are near, you disappear on the minimap. So it's just flipped.
So
if no one is close to you, you're not visible on the minimap. That's it.
Okay.
That's hopefully right.
Phantom Lancer. Big changes for this boy. Removed from Captain's mode, his agility has been reduced drastically. This is the most agility gain in the game, right? 4.2, I believe.
Yep.
Base agility has been increased to counteract that just a bit. Base strength has been increased as well, just a tad. Spirit Lance, his first ability is unchanged. This is another hero, by the way, that we're going to have to do a new hero preview for. Doppelwalk and his ultimate, I guess, technically speaking, have been removed for the most part. Second ability is now called Phantom Rush, a passive basic ability for Phantom Lancer or his illusions to quickly close the distance to an enemy. So, the best way to explain this, and I tested this in the game just to make sure I was correct. Do you know StarCraft 2, the Zealot?
Yes.
It's the same. It's the charge. It's the upgrade ability for.
I'm sure all of our viewers understand that.
How dare you not understand that at all? So if you if you click attack on an enemy and you're not within range to attack, like you're not in melee range, you will basically charge towards them. So you'll go faster and you'll have phase. It has a very low cooldown. This is passive, by the way, and it works on illusions. Illusions as well.
Oh, wait, is it when he issues do the illusions have individual cooldowns so each of them can click, or is it, let's say I'm using the main PL and I click the attack and it triggers Phantom Rush? Do all my illusions get Phantom Rush towards that target, similar to like Chaos Knight with Reality Rift, or
no?
Do they each individually have a counter?
So I'm not going to say 100%. I'm not going to say 100% this is the case, but from what I remember when I tested it, it's individual. So if you group them all together, then yes, they do that.
Okay.
But if you're using just your hero, it's not. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
So I think this is pretty cool. Doppelganger, a new ability, which is a hilarious name, by the way. A new ability for dodging immediate danger and confusing enemies with deceiving illusions. So
cool.
Kind of like a flashbang, and you can. Well, you can explain this skill. Then. I think this has got a pretty cool mechanic as well.
Yeah. So it targets an area, and all of the illusions, including PL himself in that area, disappear for a second, and then they all shuffle, including the hero. So you can actually reposition your hero with this, right?
Yeah. It's a very short range, though. Yeah.
So everything gets repositioned, and then in addition to that, you make two illusions, one of which has 20% damage and takes 600%, so that dies really quickly, and the other one deals 0 and takes 100. So that one will appear as the hero if you use it correctly, because if they start using AoE abilities and they deal damage, it'll be like, oh, this one takes no damage, this is the hero, and then it's just an illusion with 0 damage. So it's a great way of creating a lot of confusion, and I like this new PL idea a lot, of making him less of a just a click with an army and more of try to make more confusion, and it really speaks to the idea of the hero, I think, a lot. So this ability is really, really cool.
And its ultimate, which is Juxtapose, which is now like a combination of the two skills. What was the other one called?
What was that?
What was his other passive called? I can't remember. Juxtapose and what? What was his ult called?
Phantom Edge was his ultimate.
Yeah, okay. So now this grants Phantom Lancer and his illusions a chance to create an illusion when attacking. So kind of the same, but the difference is, I believe this is the difference, max illusions is now 10. That actually might not be different, but I know definitely the change is the duration is 8 seconds when it's created by you, and only 4 when created by your illusions. So things like split pushing, I would assume, are pretty much not going to happen. But at the same time, creating the illusions, where is it? It's like a 50% chance. Oh, I just highlighted it. At the highest level, 50% chance to create an illusion when it's you attacking, which is pretty gigantic. But again, they don't last that long.
Yeah, and it also doesn't give passive magic resistance anymore.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So that part is a really big deal
So
because it
AoE
makes it a
spells will
lot,
destroy them.
yeah, it's a lot easier to kill the illusions now, but you spawn them really fast. And it's much more reliable too, right? When you look at the hero. It's yes, the chance on the illusions is still really low, but when your hero hits, you can reliably get illusions up really fast. This makes him incredibly good at jungling too, right? Because you just once you get a point in your ultimate, you can just go and hit camps and you know you'll spawn like 3 or 4 illusions within a few seconds.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about that.
So,
I mean, what do you think about the hero in general? Like, I can't picture like stuff like this. I just have to see it like in a game
yeah.
to understand it.
I love the idea of making him more confusing, so I think that's fine. More confusing and
not
less
to the
death
viewer,
only,
not to the viewer,
basically.
to the enemy team. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
So
I mean, honest
that's,
doppelganger.
that's
It's not exactly. It feels like a flashbang almost for like Counter Strike, but I don't know why I like it. I wish they would call it flashbang.
I like that analogy. It's pretty good.
Phoenix now has an Aghanim Scepter upgrade, which we touched on just a tad earlier. Allows Phoenix to cast Supernova on an allied hero, bringing both into the sun together. I'm assuming it's just the same amount of clicks to destroy it, though. But when they come back, if they come back and are not dead, because of course if you kill the sun, both of you die, it will refresh not only your abilities but the other hero as well, not including the ultimates.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, I have to say. Very
I
abusable
was
at the
not-
same time.
Yeah, I was really not sure about this Aghanims upgrade because I'm like, in a sense, it seems really arbitrary, and the griefing potential of this ability is through the roof. So when we're playing this in the dual lane challenge, I'm playing Phoenix. I'm gonna get you fucking killed. I swear.
Well, I just
That's
disable freaking help then. I don't give a crap.
Yeah, I hope disable help works in it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I love again once again I love the fact that Aghanim Scepters are doing something new and something different, but I have a hard time putting my finger on what exactly is wrong with this, but I just don't really like it because maybe it's the fact that you enforce your will on an ally who might not be interested in risking his life and being out of the fight for that long.
What do you want, like
other ability that does that is like disruption,
Yeah.
right? Then you're out for 2.5
True.
seconds and you're immune and you come back and you can do stuff. So if you misplay with disruption, it's less big of a deal than, let's say I'm Phoenix and I misclick my ulti on you and you're the PA carry and we both get killed and we lose the game. It puts you in a really bad spot, right?
Well, you need to put somebody good on the Phoenix then. That's all it comes down to. I mean, do you want like a dialogue box when he brings up, would you like to be inside Phoenix's ultimate, yes or
like
no?
to take the Phoenix bus.
I don't know. This creates a lot of cool situations and a lot of fail situations too, which, hey, it's a win-win for me. So I enjoy this quite a bit.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's fun, and Phoenix is still not in CM.
Yeah.
So it's a pub thing.
Unfortunate. But
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it turns out really cool. I'm just a little skeptical on this one.
All right, I don't want to talk about this too much, but actually I want your opinion. Pudge's turn rate has been improved. Do you think this can make any difference on Pudge?
Yes, so this is mainly important when you're in the spots where you hook and the target ends up behind you, for example. Then casting Dismember, you need to turn. But with a higher turn rate, it's much more reliable that you get Dismember off on targets before they blink or force or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's mainly to address that, in addition to just overall making him more mobile in the fights when he's using Rot, that you can easier track on, like get onto a target and switch to the next one. It's a cool idea. I like having turn rates changed. I feel like they make a big difference in a good way.
Puck, Dreamcoil no longer ignores invisible units or illusions. And Aghanim Scepter, which I'm trying to think of a worse... So you said Sanity's Eclipse was pretty bad. Puck's Aghanim's was pretty bad as well.
Yeah,
I think it just increased the duration, that's it, right?
It was pretty bad, yeah.
Now
like
the Snap Stun now pierces spell immunity. And it also... the stun is also increased a bit. Now, at first... when I read this, I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. But the snap stun is the second stun. If you come out of range, right? It's not the initial stun. So it doesn't make it nearly as good. If I'm reading it correctly.
It's only if it snaps. But you can make some sort of combination plays with like a Force Staff. And,
yeah, true.
Of course you can't do that if they're spell immune. But it's still, now that it's so good, perhaps it's worth getting it together with a Force Staff and Puck. But then again, it's a lot of items, right? Because you still want Blink, Force, and Ags, then maybe you would get a Hex instead, right? I don't know. I like that it gets buffed at the very least. I think an interesting point is the first one, that it no longer ignores invisible units or illusions. This is actually a nerf in some cases. Because the old Dream Coil would tell you, if you use Dream Coil on a hero that just used Manta, you would immediately identify the right one.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
Now it also hits the illusions, but it deals initial damage. So keeping a close eye out for how much damage you do, you will see which one takes most and then go for that. But it's less obvious and creates a little bit more confusion. But apart from that, the fact that it hits illusions is a buff, right? Because they die faster, they can't just run around like they want. And the fact that it hits invisible units is definitely a buff. So a buff overall, but with a slight twist, I guess.
All right, so can we agree? Of course, I haven't looked at the whole list, but I'm just going to go off memory, that Puck still has the worst ags in the game.
Still top 3, but it's top 3 worst.
Is that your safety net, top 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, just in case there's a hero you forgot about. Okay,
yeah.
I'll live with that.
But it's pretty good.
But OD is not on that list now, correct? It's pretty good. Admit it.
Yeah, OD's is better now.
That's good. I like it a lot. Pugna, life drain can now be targeted on allies, allowing Pugna to drain his own life into them. So when I look at this, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool, but most Pugnas are like core. How often do you want your core to be losing HP? And it's a really cool, I mean, this
what if you play it
create
as
some
support
awesome
now?
situations. That's what I'm thinking. It's just Pugna support is so underwhelming. I don't know if I like it.
I want to see. Did you see that GIF earlier or video, whatever, with a Pugna life draining an IO who tethered Pugna and it healed them both?
Oh, that sounds pretty cool. So it's the new IO Pugna lane. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, this is like the ultimate gimmick, right? So you have an I. I think someone said it was something like the human centipede in Dota 2. I like that analogy a lot. So you take IO and you tether Tiny, and then you take Pugna and then you life drain IO, and then IO has overcharge on, and then they just keep going forever, almost. Pugna will lose life eventually, but if Pugna has a heart, then you just have a machine Tiny who can't die, keeps getting healed, and you have 2 supports following him. That's cool, isn't it?
So basically, it's health substituted for feces, right? For the human centipede.
We don't need to explain that analogy. If people get it, that's fine. If
Just
they don't,
a little recommendation for people out there that like
yeah, it's the
hilarious
best film ever
movies.
watched. Make sure you watch it.
No, wait. Human Centipede 2. Not the first. The first one was garbage. Number 2 was so disturbing that I could not stop laughing. It was the most hilarious movie I've ever seen. But I have to warn you, you will be disgusted with yourself if you watch it alone. You need to watch it with a party, bunch of people, so you can laugh. Otherwise, you just want to kill yourself. Okay, moving on. So Queen of Pain base attack time improved from 1.7 to 1.6. Very interesting for a hero that is of intelligence based. I mean, this makes her a better carry. I mean, it's not unheard of to build carry items on her, so I kind of like that. And the fact that she's kind of forgotten in the mid lane anyway, maybe this will bring some attention onto her. Removed unit targeting from Sonic Wave. I had no idea that was even the case. No wonder I've been missing so many ultimates, but I guess it's going to stay the same. And Sonic Wave final area of effect has been increased by 150.
That's a lot.
Yes.
So overall, like if you imagine this, if you try to picture in your mind how big a 50% increase to the width of Sonic Wave is in the end, that's huge. And if the scaling itself, so the way it expands, right? It expands like a cone. If it still expands like a cone, that also means that in the middle, the area is also bigger. So it expands out. This is a huge buff to the Sonic Wave. It's really, really big, right?
Or you feel like that was a problem with the hero?
Am I missing something here?
I don't know.
Or is that ultimate just going to be extremely wide now?
It was already so wide. Like, I don't understand.
So 300 AoE means that it's 600 wide. That means now that it's going to be 900 wide at the end, right? So the fact that unit targeting is removed is in some cases a nerf, because sometimes you just want to target a unit and make sure you hit it. But now that it's so wide, you can click anywhere in the proximity of the unit and you're going to hit it, unless I misunderstand this.
You might, I don't know.
It's
what,
also
what
a
do you
trend,
think about
it seems.
the...
So what else lost targeting? Fissure lost targeting. A couple of versions ago, Nick Stun lost targeting.
Yeah.
Sand King still has targeting.
Oh, no, I was thinking of the Lycans for Sand King. Yeah.
Nick still has targeting. So these huge AoE abilities are starting to be ground cast only.
I don't mind.
I think it's...
What do you think about the base attack time?
This is a huge buff, actually. I'm really surprised that it gets this much of an AoE increase, but I'm looking forward to seeing it in game.
Yeah, we're gonna have to redo our Clop submission. Somebody's right about that. Have to redo that, the AoE on that. What do you think about the base attack time though? Change on a hero like Queen of Pain. I mean, is this a reason to pick up like damage items? Not
enough reason. If you wanted to do it before, you'll still do it. If I generally don't think the difference between whether you play a hero as a carry or as a utility is 0.1 attack time. But it's just a it's just a buff overall. Maybe you get one extra attack off in your gank, or you harass a little bit more in lane or whatever. So whenever base stats get buffed, it actually means a lot because it has an impact on every single game the hero has played in. Instead of like, yes, so does the ultimate. It's hard to explain. It gives you more flexibility in the builds, but I don't think it really encourages playing her as a carry as such. But it just makes it a little bit better. Okay.
Razor plasma field minimum damage has been nerfed by 50%.
Heavily.
It seems. Yeah, pretty big. Of course, that just means the minimum, as you can read the word minimum here. So if you're gonna, most people aren't gonna really hit the minimum very often. I mean, if you're a good player, right, you go for the max every time. Actually, how big of a deal is that specific one? This nerf.
You generally use it when enemies at max distance, so it's not that big of a deal. Of course, it's a nerf because sometimes you use it and you hit multiple targets, and some of them are closer and some of them are further away. So it's definitely a big deal, and it also means that generally the way Razor is played in fights is that you static link someone, you turn on ult, and you run in, right? So there's at least one or two heroes in the proximity. So this does make a big difference. But for ganks, not so much, because then it's a finishing move, and you do the max damaging.
Okay. Static link no longer ignores Lycan sphere. Why was that ever the case? Okay. Static link. Actually, I understand why, because it used to be ground cast too, right? So they're just probably mirroring that now. The static link mana cost has gone up, and the Eye of Storm no longer lingers through Aegis reincarnation. So the death push with the Aegis no longer really valid.
Yeah, lots of good nerfs, I guess. Razor reached a point suddenly when he became a really big pick because he was so flexible and could do a lot of things. Now it's back to a point where he's a counter pick now. You pick Razor to counter out an enemy carry mainly with static link. I also read, I think it was yesterday, that Eye of the Storm actually deals twice the damage to towers that it did in Dota 1, which is obviously a huge reason why he's so good in Dota 2. And it's something to do with the damage type or something, or how it's triggered on towers. Unless that guy was just flat out mistaken, that should still stay the way it looks. That did not get fixed. So Axe is still great, but if you die, you don't keep Eye of the Storm. Right. So
that's fair enough.
Good nerfs all around. I think that's fine.
Although I did see a post where Eye of the Storm worked when you used Phoenix's ult on him, but I'm pretty sure that's a bug. So don't expect that to stay very long. In fact, like Black Hole even worked, so that was really random. Okay, Riki got some interesting changes. Base movement speed has been reduced. His base damage has been reduced. His HP regeneration has been reduced. But his permanent invisibility is now a basic ability, meaning it's no longer his ultimate. Doesn't sound as great as it... I mean, level 1 invis sounds cool, but it has an 8-second fade time, which is pretty long, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, you want to level this up, though.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm thinking this is all like maybe off-lane stuff. I don't know. But permanent invisibility now provides the HP regeneration that you basically lose, actually way more. You're making up for that big time. But you have to be invisible to get it. So it's similar to like Broodmother, not the HP regeneration, but kind of you lose effect if you become visible kind of thing. But Blink Strike is now...
You want to know what's really interesting about this change?
Sure.
He's still in CM.
Oh, that's true.
Unlike the other ones that got hardcore reworked. So if some teams find a cool way of using this, he can get picked right now. I thought he should be removed from CM with this.
Interesting.
It's a total rework of the hero, but he's still in Captain's Mode.
That's a good point. I mean, typically when they do that, it's like they don't feel the heroes... They feel he's underpowered, if anything, honestly. At least that's my understanding. But Blink Strike is now his ultimate and can be targeted on spell immune targets. So the bonus damage has been reduced, but... it has charge base, so you can actually cast it 5 times in a row on a hero, or multiple heroes if you want. And it has a 30-second replenish time. So again, kind of like Broodmother again, actually. It's kind of goes hand in hand. And let's see, Blink Strike mana cost has been reduced by 10, not a big deal. Well, I guess it is a big deal if you're using it multiple times in a row. And the cast range has been increased a bit. So
what was it? What hero was it you said reminded you of something from Han? Was it the Rune?
Yeah, the Rune
was the inspiration.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm thinking with this? This really reminds me of something.
From Han?
No. From League of Legends.
Oh, don't know any of the abilities for League.
So we have like different games we know stuff about. I know shit about Han, but I know stuff about League.
Okay.
This is really similar to a hero in League of Legends called Akali. The ultimate of that one is exactly like this. It's a Blink Strike with charges that replenish. it really looks like that has been, maybe it's been the inspiration, maybe it hasn't, but it's very similar to that. And I like this rework to Riki a lot, but I have a hard time, I have a hard time placing him right now with what he's going to do. Like I said, he could be offlane, he could be carry. How is the leveling really going to work? Triple Blink Strike on level 6 is really cool, but does he deal enough damage? You know, there's a lot of questions I have there, but yeah, that was the thing that immediately came to mind when I saw this. I was like, okay, this is really similar to that. Maybe they are getting inspiration a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with that. Of course, this one I have no experience with, but well, technically speaking, I don't have any experience with the Han War or the Han rune either, since I quit. But yeah, I'm fine. I mean, this is going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on, I guess. And the fact that he's in CM, like you said. Shadow Demon Soul Catcher now amplifies damage. I thought it did. Oh, instead of oh, I see. So it's. Wait, didn't it apply it after or something like that? Is that what it's saying? Wait, Soul Catcher now amplifies. Explain this to me. To redeal.
So what is it?
Oh, I see. So as the damage comes in, it's amplified instead of before, where it would redeal the damage at the kind of the end of the attack. So if this makes sense, let's say
this is a nerf, right?
Yeah, this is a nerf. Well, it's not really a nerf per se, because Shadow Demon's not going to be getting the kills. So in a lot of cases, now correct me if I'm wrong. Like let's say somebody has 200 HP and Soul Catchers on them, and Lina ults them. The kill sometimes will go to Shadow Demon because he'd get the amplified damage. Does that make sense? Because it goes afterwards or something like that. There's some weird mechanic. Does that sound familiar at all? Am I just making this up?
Well, the way I'm reading this is that it amplifies the damage
as it's being applied, instead of redealing it later or redealing.
Hang on, let me see. So if a spell deals 100 magic damage on level 1, then previously it would deal 100 magic damage plus 20 pure damage, right? And now instead it will deal 120 magic damage, and then that will be reduced. Or is it still pure damage type?
It doesn't say anything about magic
amplifies damage by a percentage instead of redealing it as pure damage. So I'm reading this like it's taking the same damage type, which means it's worse on every single damage type apart from pure, where it's the same. Because if I deal 100 magic damage right now, I'll deal 100 magic damage plus 20 magic damage. That's 120 magic damage, which is 90 damage in total. Beforehand, I will deal 100 magic damage, which is 75 damage with base resist, plus 20 pure, which would be 95. Right?
I don't care.
I think this is I could be wrong. If it's still pure, then whatever, right? But
okay.
Not sure.
Aghanim Scepter. This is one of the. It's not. I wouldn't say this is one of the worst ones, but it's one of the heroes that just never is going to get it. I don't think, unless you're like solo mid or something. I mean, it's not even often you see a 4 Shadow Demon, you know, but you now get 3 purges to use if you pick up an Ags. So.
It's so crazy.
I mean, it seems ridiculously good.
Already.
Yeah, I mean, 3 purges is ridiculous, but like, how do you find farm for this guy? You know, I don't know.
Well, you can stack the jungle and farm with Shadow Poison. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but you're really gonna stack like 8 camps for Shadow Demon? I mean, come on. That's fine with me. I mean, hey, when he was first introduced in Dota, he was a mid hero and he destroyed faces. I'd kind of like to see that again. I'd like to see him in mid again.
He is still a really good.
And he was actually his sorry, what'd you call his spell again? What's the spell called? The Shadow Poison, right?
Yeah.
That was buffed like a couple patches ago too.
Yeah, so it can stack 5 times instead of 4.
Yeah, 5 from 4. Shadow Fiend, other than getting an awesome Arcana, his Necromastery Soul cap has been increased at the earlier levels. Requiem of Souls debuff is now applied when the wave hits the unit instead of in a slightly small area independently. I didn't even know that was the case before, as far as being smaller than the radius that I thought it was. And Requiem of Souls increased by 5%. So as far as the first skill, as far as the first change, Necromastery, this doesn't really change much. This is obviously a buff, but like you only get 1 level of it for the first 3 levels. Then you start nuking waves, right? So you're going to be getting...
most of the time you skill Necromastery, raise, or raise, Necromastery, raise.
So this basically gives you like, what is it, 6 damage extra?
Yep.
So it's a nice little buff.
It's okay. It's a little bit, but not the biggest of deals. As long as the cap is the same, because that's what affects Requiem in the end. You generally have max souls all the time when you use it.
Yeah.
And that's the same. The debuff is applied when the wave hits instead of in a slightly smaller area. So that's a buff instead of in a smaller area. I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and Requiem Slow. So it's just buffs all around, but
Right.
very small ones. It's still this is a hero that when he gets touched, I feel like it's very little. Apart from the time when he got his half ultimate when he died, that was the biggest change Shadow Fiend has
Yeah,
had in
that's true.
6 years.
People love
So
this hero, man. He's a
he's
fun
such
hero.
a staple in Dota history that you generally don't change this guy a lot.
Yeah. Shadow Shaman. Shackle's mana cost has been rebalanced. Okay. And Mass Serpent War cooldown has been increased by 10. Okay. I don't really have
Yeah,
anything to say about this
fine.
hero.
Little
Sil-
worth it pushing.
mhm.
But fine.
Silencer, Glaze of Wisdom percentage, intelligence to damage has been increased at the later
Before.
levels. 84% from 75. That was already a lot. I feel like 75 was already a lot.
Why don't you just make it 100 at this point? Like if you
Global,
want to
yeah,
make that jump.
if you want to be OCD about it, absolutely. I mean, this is a little OCD here. Global Silence mana cost is now 500 level 3. Um, this is a really strong hero. We don't really see him that often, though.
They're trying to make him get played as a carry with this, obviously. It's way better for a carry silencer this buff than for the support.
Yep, for sure.
Still, when he gets played as a carry, you also generally get Eggs and then Refresher, and then Glaives of Wisdom don't really benefit too much from that. It's when you start getting items like Hex and Shiva's Guard that it gets really powerful, but it's
Well,
okay to
are
see
they
buffs
trying
to
to
silence. I
combat
don't
that
mind.
with the mana cost being increased? I mean, if you're doing Refresher, this is an extra 100
That's
extra
true.
mana cost now
An
to
extra
level
100
3.
mana, yeah.
Maybe that's not that huge for Silencer, but
He still has enough mana for that shit.
yeah.
Not heroes.
Skywrath
It's
Mage,
okay.
concussive shot movement slow has been rebalanced, meaning... Actually, this is another hero that the concussive shot, you can dodge it now, right? And it's
Yes.
dispellable as well. That's what we read, right?
Low. Yep.
Okay. And Mystic Flare damage is now dealt over 2.2 seconds. This is a slight nerf, but zero point 0.2
Light OCD
seconds.
there.
Yeah, that's yeah for sure.
I really didn't like it when I saw that number. I have to admit, I was like, "Is there another way of doing it?" And then I just was like, "Whatever."
Well, maybe they have OCD with keeping it even. Like if they get rid of one that is even, they have to put one that's just completely
Oh, so it's like
random.
meta. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
something
deep.
like that.
Okay.
Any thoughts on
Yeah,
this?
concussive shot being nerfed is fine. I like that they keep Skywrath Mage strong and that again he doesn't get nerfed into the ground because a lot of people were saying this hero is now way too good. I think he's in an okay place with just slight changes. This might be enough for now.
I think his strongest point still is instant cast, basically, of Ancient Seal, and the range on it is insane,
He
and
needs
the
to keep
cooldown
that
on it is
as well.
insane.
That's
I
the
love.
hero.
I know the spell is great. I know I've said this. It's kind of contradictory, but it's too fast, man. The cooldown is too low. I don't know. It seems too good to me. But you're right. That is the hero in a nutshell. Slardar, otherwise known as Slardar to some
Love
people.
this.
Slithering Crush stun duration increased at the earlier levels because it was garbage. Now keep in
Okay.
mind, of course, this is one of the few mechanics in the game. It's kind of like Wraith King, where correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't played him in a long time. But when you stun, after he's stunned, there's a slow also.
Yep.
So it's not as bad as it looks, but this is obviously quite a big buff.
And it also deals physical damage, so it has synergy with your ults.
Right. Does this change
This hero
anything
is
for
so
him?
cool. I
mean,
really want him to come
are
back.
we going to see more tri-lane? Because this is a decent hero in tri-lanes, right? Because he's pretty beefy.
I think generally the problem with Slaughter is that he doesn't like carrying on his own. He's not a carry. He's like a hero that amplifies your carry a hell of a lot. So you want to play a lineup where you have Slaughter and a physical damage mid laner, like SF. That got played with great success at TI3 by Orange. They had a game where they crushed with that.
And Venge. Got to put Venge in there. Who else is there?
Yeah.
Who's negative
But
armor? Every
Dazzle?
Alchemist. Alchemist Dazzle. There you go. That's your
Minus
pup
2
strat,
billion
guys.
armor.
So good.
Literally one shot every hero. And then you have Medusa who uses split shot once.
Yeah, true. But you can't have 6 heroes, syndereN, so we have a problem. Okay, we can
Oh,
get
yeah.
rid of Alchemist because it's just acid spray. Although that was buffed. Damn, Roshan's gonna go down so quick. Radiant side smoking. Okay, anyway, you think this hero is gonna get picked?
Slowly but steadily, yes.
Okay. Slark is no longer visible inside Chronosphere during Shadow Dance. Okay.
Fine fix.
Sniper headshot now causes a 0.5 second 100% movement speed and attack speed slow instead of the mini stun, and the shrapnel area effect has been increased. So that's a good change for shrapnel. This seems like a nerf for headshot.
It is mainly a buff, in my opinion, but there's a couple of things about this. So you can't interrupt channeling without assassinate now.
which is garbage for that. Yeah.
So people can TP out and you can't stop Black Hole, which is definitely a nerf. But for everything else, it's like Tether now when you hit someone. Half a second, 100%. So in all those cases where the stun was not necessary, the new one is just better, right? Because you can't attack and you can barely move. You got 100 move speed, which is the minimum, right? And attack speed is like 0. So in carry versus carry, I would say the new headshot is definitely better. It's probably also better for chasing heroes down, because having 100 move speed for half a second instead of having 0 move speed for quarter of a second is also better. And with Shrapnel also getting buffed, I consider this a buff overall with slight... There's a couple of things that make him a little weaker in that regard.
Interesting. All right, I'll have to see it. I mean, I can't really picture it, honestly. Stun just... even if it's a mini stun, just sounds better. But, I mean, the 0.5 second slow, that's almost... It's basically equivalent to the Lesh Lightning Storm now, right? I don't know if that changes your attack speed. Actually, not sure about that one. But I know
it also slows by 75%. This one is 100. It's like really down to 0 or 100, right?
75%. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is essentially like being sheeped for 0.5 seconds, except you can cast stuff in attack, but it's just very slowly.
And you
so yeah, it's just like Tether.
Really attack.
Yeah. Okay. Looking forward to see that. Spectral Dagger movement speed change has been increased just a little bit, and Spectral Dagger projectile speed reduced to be an even OCD number. So nothing to talk about here, I don't believe.
No, just good to get the buffs on, especially the low levels where Dagger was garbage. Now it's pretty good.
Okay. Charge of Darkness for Spirit Breaker cooldown has been reduced by a redonkadonk amount, and well, to counteract that just a bit, the cooldown does not begin again. It does not start until the charge is stopped, one way or another. Empowering Haste now can be cast to improve the aura by 50% for 6 seconds, but afterwards the aura is 50% weaker while the ability is on cooldown, which the cooldown, 20-second cooldown. And
Greater Bash... If you mouse over, you can see the values.
Yeah, while active, Empowering Haste increases this much. Okay, you guys can look at the comparisons there. And Greater Bash damage has been increased at the earlier levels. Okay. So buffs overall for Spirit Breaker. I really like the charge mechanic, or I'm not going to call it a mechanic, but charge changes a lot.
Yeah.
You can charge and then just wait 12 seconds, do it again. Like, it's pretty cool.
You can travel a lot with this. It's a really fast way of crossing the map. So in terms of efficiency, it's way better than before, and there's less risk involved when you cast charge. It's not like, oh damn, I used my charge. Now it really has to work out. You can just be a nuisance around the map by charging people and then just canceling and then doing it again to another lane. Just keep putting pressure without actually reaching anyone.
What? What do you mean?
Right? Or wait, am I misunderstanding something here?
What do you say that again? I'm really tired, but that made no sense to me. You stop in the middle.
Okay, so let's say I charge someone.
Yeah.
And instead of reaching him, I just stop halfway, and then I charge again.
Then you're doing literally nothing. What's the purpose?
You're harassing people on the lane, and you're forcing them to be careful. You're like putting pressure around the map by running around.
What do you mean stopping in the middle? I'm thinking like you're charging towards top, and you stop in the river for no reason, and then you charge bottom, and you stop bottom.
Okay, listen. If you see that your charge will not give you a kill, right?
Yeah.
You start charging halfway, they realize, oh damn, this gank won't work. So with the old Spirit Breaker, you cancelled your gank, and then you had to wait 35 seconds before you could try again.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't have a cooldown until you hit. It has no cooldown, right? Am I misunderstanding this?
No.
No cooldown.
No, you're right.
Good. So you can cast it. You charge to a lane, shit, my gank didn't work. Then you charge mid, shit, my gank didn't work.
That's
so just
fine.
Keep harassing
the
lanes.
way you said it just made me think like that is the stupidest strategy. Just stopping like when you're not even close to the hero. Okay, I'm just tired. It's all good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this hero.
Like that. I'm gonna get charge level 1. I'm gonna charge lanes.
Like you charge from fountain to mid, but you stop at your tier 1, and then you charge somewhere else. That's what I was thinking. Okay. Like, no wonder this guy retired. Jesus Christ. All right, Storm Spirit. Ball Lightning mana cost per 100 units. Okay, so this is...
Okay, it's cancelled. It's also triggered when it's cancelled, Shen. That's why I said it. So it is a 12-second cooldown also if you don't reach. It's not 0 if you don't reach. Good, okay. But 12 seconds is short. Go, next.
The Ball Lightning mana cost has been reworked a bit. It seems to be... I have to do the numbers, but I would think once you start getting a couple of items, this is better. More mana efficient overall. But we'd have to test that out.
Yeah, let's not do the math on
Yeah,
that.
I'm assuming this is
We're
a
gonna be
good
wrong.
thing for a hero that's barely played. So, okay. Sven added Aghanim Scepter while activated God Strength grants an allied aura, which is 900 area effect, for up to 80% of base damage. Sven is here to pump you up. So, of course, this
That was
is
such an awful.
all right. It is 4:46 in the morning. I cannot afford
When it's here to
to
pump you
expend
up.
all my energy. That's better. That's good.
Yeah.
This
Remember,
is
it's base damage.
interesting.
That's the important
Right.
thing. So
It's not as crazy as it looks, but
it's really good for sieging the base, and for
well,
some lineups with team fighting, it's cool. And maybe this brings support Sven back a little bit. With playing it that way, could be interesting.
this is almost like double damage, though, right? That's
Double base damage.
right.
Yeah, and that's a double damage rune. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. But if you
Um,
play Sven as a support, how often do you get level 16, etc., etc.?
well, can you?
I like
Do
the
you,
idea.
if you play this as carry, you'd never buy this, right?
Not really. Not if you're the only carry, at least. Then if you want
If
to
this
prioritize your
worked on
team over
yourself-
yourself, you have multiple cores.
If this worked and stacked on yourself, which it doesn't necessarily say, it doesn't. That would be pretty good.
That's true. It doesn't specify whether you get the aura yourself. I would actually think you do.
I
Because
don't
all
know.
auras affect yourself too, right? There's no aura in the game that doesn't affect the owner.
It
Not a
could be
single
true.
one. So I guess you get that on top of your own.
If that's true, then Aghanims
Still
might
pretty
be
good.
good. Might be good.
Yeah,
It
maybe.
wouldn't be like first item or anything, but okay. I'd like to see it. Techies, I just want to skip him. Is that you guys mind? Like I don't give a crap.
You guys minds?
Nobody cares. Templar Assassin Psionic Trap cooldown has been reduced, most notably at the level
Why do you
3.
just skip techies? I feel like it's bad mannered, even though I don't like the hero either.
All right, you go over him. I don't want to talk about him. I'll take a mini
Okay,
nap.
his landmines have lower cooldown level 1, that's great, so he can place more faster. Stasis stun is worse. Stasis area
Stasis.
is way
Isn't
bigger.
it stasis?
Stasis?
I
I
think
know.
it's stasis. I don't know.
Either. Way bigger area to activate, and it lasts longer. So that trap gets buffed in trigger, but reduced in duration. And remote mines get buffed in duration, reduced in vision, and they have the same area of effect no else. Look at the old scaling of remote mines. 400, 410, 425. That's pretty random. And flying units now don't get hurt by landmines nor trigger them. That's good. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Techies.
Thanks, syndereN, for the Techies update of today. Appreciate that. Also brought to you by Cherry Pepto-Bismol. You'll need it against Techies, that's for damn sure. TA, I don't think we need to talk about this. I mean, that's a nice little buff for him. Her. It. You don't really see her that often anymore. Terrorblade, enabled in Captain's mode. And the other change,
Dun, dun, dun,
Sundercast
dun.
point has been improved to 0.35 seconds.
Curious to see how popular this hero
Yeah,
is.
what do you think about this hero in general?
I
I mean, everybody thought he was broken. Well, he was broken, and then what did they nerf
quite a bit.
again? It was his
Base
slow,
stats,
right?
Base stats, reflection got nerfed.
Yeah.
I think maybe the illusions got nerfed a little bit. I'm not sure. But
I think it was definitely reflection, the slow. I don't know what else.
I feel like Terrorblade is that kind of hero where if you leave him unattended, he completely explodes. So similar to a lot of other very hard carries. He's of course illusion based like PL, and he comes online earlier and pushes better. I think of Terrorblade generally as a better version of PL, and now PL is getting reworked, so he's totally different, right? But it's I think this hero will definitely be picked, especially by teams who are good at playing 4 Protect 1, because he's perfect for that. If you leave him some space and he starts split pushing, he takes towers really fast, and if your other 4 heroes can fight without him, he pays it back in late game. So I think he will definitely be picked by...
So, what you're saying is this is a hero that nobody actually wants to watch as a spectator.
I think split push is entertaining to watch sometimes.
Well, sure.
If it's
but
done well, a well-executed strategy is
that was
what's
more in
entertaining
reference
watch.
to your 4 Protect one.
Oh,
but,
that's also interesting if it's played well.
No, god awful. Okay,
Sorry, I'm a fan of strategy.
you would be. Strategies for losers, syndereN. Don't you know that?
Just fight.
Tidehunter Anchor Smash damage reduction has been reduced, so stacking ancients and killing them isn't going to be quite as easy. Okay, that's pretty much all I got from that. What do you think about? I asked you this last time. So now that we're seeing so many Ags changes, he doesn't have Ags yet. Do you think it's too good if his Ravage goes through BKB?
Yes.
Just plain too good.
Yes.
You suck. Okay, Timbersaw added Aghanim Scepter. grants Timbersaw a second Chakram. Okay, so this is
What
the
do you
thing.
think? If Timbersaw got a second eggs and these
If I
both
had
went
asked
through
you this,
BKB, do you think that would be too good?
that's completely different. Oh, because Tidehunter gets a refresher? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, if Timbersaw has 2 chakrams out and he can buy another eggs to make them go through BKB, is that too good?
Whatever. What do you think about this?
I love this. This is really cool. I can't wait to see people play it like this.
I
I
feel
hope
like
he gets picked in competitive for this.
Yeah, me too.
Amazingly fun.
This is obviously not a thing you rush. Like, you're gonna get Bloodstone no matter what. I mean, that's just made
The
for that
stats
hero.
are really good for him, though. That's
No,
the
I know,
thing.
but you don't get it. You would never get it first, though, right? I mean, you have to get Bloodstone first.
Yeah, you might need a mana regen item first. Does the second chakram also cost mana and drain mana at the full rate of the first one? 'Cause
I would
then you
think it's the
definitely need one. But
Okay, so this is the thing. When you see stuff in the patch notes, sometimes you're like, oh my god, this is OP, oh my god, this is underwhelming. But if I say something, if I had said this last time, boy, I wish Ags for Timbersaw would give a second Chakram, you would have said, STFU, it's OP. Tidehunter Ravage goes through BKB.
no, I
just
just
saying.
don't like your opinion in general. But if it's someone else's opinion,
Yes, I've noticed that as well. Okay, Tinker, one of his many, well, we already talked about this, no longer affects spell immune, March of the Machines. Okay. So that means no Ancienting, which is like
no
a huge
ancient
source of his
stacking, no
gold.
BKB interaction, no mud golems.
Yeah, that was a big one. Stacking them mud golems, tell you what.
I'll tell you what. A lot of Tinkers have this 3-camp rotation in both Radiant and Dire Jungle where they farm, or 2 or 3 camps depending on where you are, where you farm one of the camps can have mud golems. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Tinker, we're going to talk about him a bit more. I just want to know, you know all the changes, right? Is this a trash tier hero now? I mean,
No.
I wouldn't say that, I guess. But
Definitely not.
I mean, heavy nerfs, though. Heavy. You got to play him a lot differently now.
It's really good. I still think he's a good hero, but he's not stupid tier.
Yeah. Treant Protector, Nature's Guise mana reduced. Okay. And added Aghanim Scepter, which grants a new ability, which is actually an old ability, Eyes in the Forest, which allows Treant to enchant trees to spine its enemies. And actually, the addition to this, okay, for people that don't know, you put this on trees, it gives you vision, but if the other team has like any kind of sentries or true sight, they can see the trees and they can eat them somehow or destroy them. But the thing that's different, this is actually an old ability. I think it was like an owl or something like that, if I remember right.
And then you also had an ability where you could plant a tree.
Oh, I don't remember that. Okay. But the thing that's different about this one, aside from planting trees, if an enemy is near one of the trees that is enchanted, and you activate your ult, they will be ensnared and damaged. So it's basically better than his ultimate, and it's technically global. Tell me if I'm wrong about any of that.
Overgrowth is cast by Treant Protector units near an enchanted tree. Yeah. So, wow. So, yeah, the way I look at it, I think you're right. I think all the trees will be affected by overgrowth globally. It doesn't say that he needs to be close to the tree, at least. So I think you're right. It's like a trap, a booby trap you can put somewhere.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It sounds somewhat situational because, I mean...
Because when does Treant ever get a net worth of more than 400?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Sometimes he could get
It's
it.
interesting,
It's like
though.
extreme luxury, and you would still only play him as support and competitive, I think. Maybe offlaner can work sometimes, but...
Gotta put a mid, get a Radiance, bro. Then you're good to go. I don't know. It's a weird Ags. Not crazy about it, but it's not like it's terrible. I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see how it goes. Troll Warlord, ranging whirling axes, cooldown has been reduced just a bit. And acquisition range increased. The heck is acquisition? This affects auto attack range. So if you have auto attack on or you A-click, you'll actually attack from 800 range instead of 600. Is that right?
No, it'll trigger the attack command, I think. And it just says when you mouse over, this is now similar to how the acquisition range works for other ranged heroes. So it was just an inconsistency. Really weird. But...
Okay. So no big deal here, I guess. I know there's another... So do trolls pick up mech still? Or is that an old thing?
We'll get to that later.
Well, does the hero pick up mech, though? Because I'm going to forget about it.
Oh, whether he does now, yes.
Okay. So we'll talk about
whether he does soon, no
implications. Yeah. Tusk, ice shards no longer stop when it hits a hero, which sounds kind of weird, but if you read on, you'll see why. Ice shards now travels until the cast location and creates its blockade there. Ice shards cast range has been increased by 300. Ice shards no longer destroys trees, which sounds like a nerf, but actually I'm thinking of cool scenarios here. So let's talk about ice shards before we get to the rest. So you cast it at whatever location you want, and that's where it stops, which means you can trap heroes easier if you're good. It's more of a skill shot more than anything now, right? That's what I'm thinking. And like the not destroying trees, you can literally trap people in, like, if you get the right angle in like a tree area.
Yeah. One thing I would have liked to see for this, you're absolutely right. Like, it travels until the cast location and it stops there. So you decide before you cast it where you want the wall to be. Anywhere between 0 and 1800, right? I would have liked to see it have a secondary ability with 0 mana cost, which is a trigger that is called Stop the Wall, right? So you can manually choose when you want to stop the ice shards. I think that would be cool.
That's interesting, yeah.
And especially when you're considering how Tusk already has this multi-interactions with like Snowball, where he can take allies in, so it would fit the hero scheme pretty well.
I really like the name you picked too, Stop the Wall. I like that. I mean, it's called Ice Shards, but hey, let's put a sub-ability called Stop the Wall. That's a good
Stop shards.
Stop shards.
But
no, I think that's a cool idea.
Essentially, I mean, maybe that would be too good. I think it could be cool, but this is a really good idea as well, where you put the wall, you choose before you cast it where it goes, you roll faster with Snowball, and I think the biggest buff of all here is that allies can click the Snowball to jump into it.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. So Snowball got a bonus increase in speed, and yeah, allies can jump into it, so it makes it a little bit easier to do that. I'm also thinking with ice shards, like for getaway situations, would that, yeah, that would definitely make it easier. You just block people off and you just run away. So I think for newer players or people that aren't as familiar with Tusk, the ice shards might be a nerf. But for medium to higher range skill players, this is pretty awesome change, I think.
Yeah, it's really good.
I like it. Undying, Tombstone, I have no what the fuck this is about. Why would you increase the area of effect of Tombstone? It is huge. It was already huge. I hate the skill.
I actually think it was too small.
What?
Next.
Are you okay? Are you?
I just want to disagree with you.
I hate you. I don't know why this bothers me. So this is enormous. It's been enormous this whole time. It's like the only thing that's really good about this hero is Tombstone. Actually, that's not true.
He still doesn't get picked. That means something has to be done, right?
Yeah, let's make his already amazing. Okay, that's fine. But Aghanim Scepter for Flesh Golem, which he never picks up Aghanims, but it's not unheard of. Like, oh, I shouldn't say it's not unheard of. It's, in theory, Aghanims would be pretty decent on Undying in general, but you never find farm because he can't farm worth crap, right? But now the damage amplification has been increased by 5% at all levels, and the Flesh Golem slow aura is increased by 9 to, or increased from 9 to variable from 5 to 15. I mean, his ags for Flesh Golem is actually pretty good, and his ult in general is like extremely underrated, I think. Because amplified damage just like it scales amazingly well into late game. Unfortunately, the rest of Undying is just garbage late game. But that part is really
I heard of something, a friend of mine asked why you get Veil on Undying, and I don't remember ever seeing it, but when I heard that I thought it was actually a pretty cool idea, because all your spells are magical damage apart from Tombstone. You already have amp, you can amp up your team really hard, and it gives you armor when you go in, so...
Get amped up, son.
If you try and a build like Veil plus Ags and a tank item, I think this guy can actually be completely ridiculous for amplifying team fights. Pretty insane.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool combo. I like that.
That, of course, requires for you to not get mech and stuff like that unless you're going to get ridiculous gold amounts. But it's with the Axe upgrade, I think it's worthwhile now. The previous one was kind of underwhelming. Now it's reached a point where if you look at the level 3 Flesh Golem, it's 40% damage amplification on everyone. It's like a level 3 Soul Catcher cast on every enemy, pretty much. So that's pretty crazy.
Vengeful Spirit Nether Swap has got another buff to the range for the earlier levels. Most notably the first. I like it.
Really good.
Great hero. Yeah. We see here a decent amount. Hope to see her more. Big time. I mean, her ultimate is... it's so good. Freaking love it. One of the few support heroes that I actually like playing too. Just a little side trivia there for you guys. Venomancer Poison Nova applies its debuff on spell immune enemies. Obviously doesn't steal damage, but... yeah, that is the same.
This means nothing. It's exactly the same as before.
So why is this... Why is this posted
because
then?
Because magic immune and spell immune is a new thing, right? It's been
they're just
changed.
Clarifying then, yeah.
Or wait, didn't it? So okay, the way
I
I
know it
remember it,
didn't.
let's say I'm a hero, I get hit by Poison Nova, and then I use BKB. Then
Right.
BKB does not remove Poison Nova. But if I had BKB on already and Poison Nova was cast on me,
I don't think it
then
would.
maybe the debuff was actually
I think
not
that's the
put there.
difference. Yeah. I think
So
that's
that
the
is actually a buff. Okay, that is a new thing. And then the thing in the parenthesis here is just it still does not deal damage. Of course, when you're spell immune, it's still magic damage type, but you will be affected after your BKB then. So that is a change, I
Yeah.
think.
By the way, those are
Okay.
brackets, not parentheses, just to let you know.
Okay.
Viper,
Get
corrosive
lost.
skin. It's 5 a.m. I get to bash you for these things. Corrosive skin now only affects enemies within 400 or 1400 area of effect. That's good to see. Like Sunstrike won't hurt you, basically. Global stuff. I guess AA ult is probably a big one. Corrosive skin damage cannot be reflected multiple times. I know how this works for 1v1, like Viper versus Viper. Is this applicable any other scenario?
Damage.
Because for those of you that don't know,
Viper versus Morphling Replicate.
okay,
Viper versus any sort of illusion made by the enemy of Viper. So
okay, that's a
Shadow
good point.
Demon.
So explain to everybody what
Darkseer
we're
Wall.
talking about, though.
Yeah, so corrosive skin works in a way so that when you take damage, the the target who dealt damage to you gets damage over time taken. But what if that hero that dealt the initial damage to you was an illusion of Viper itself, which has the Viper passive? Then they kind of create an infinite loop where they keep dealing corrosive skin damage to each other until one of them dies. But that cannot happen anymore because the reflection cannot be reflected,
Right.
and the 1400 AOU can run away. This is basically a fix to that gimmick with Viper illusion versus Viper.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think about the morph replicate. Pretty good. Visage, familiar stone form cooldown has been reduced. Okay, cool. Warlock
Pretty
Fatal
good.
Bonds now shares the same damage type that is dealt to it before it is reduced.
Yeah, we had that earlier.
Yeah. Fatal Bonds damage percentage
Had
from
that earlier too.
2025. All right, this is the change that we're talking about, the golem. So it's to counteract.
Yeah.
What was the change that we talked about? It doesn't go the immolation part. Wait, what doesn't go through BKB for the golem
The
now?
flaming fists, I think, were BKB piercing.
Which one's flaming fists?
The attack proc.
That's like a percentage chance to deal extra damage.
Flaming fist damage type from magical that pierces spell immunity to magical. No longer pierces spell immunity. So yeah, it's the cleave chance on hit AoE fire damage.
Okay.
That Warlock's.
The golem attack range has been increased by a ridiculous amount. The golem base attack time has been improved as well. HP regeneration increased. This is actually a pretty big deal if you think about it. So think of the Shadow Word on top of... I don't even know if people use Shadow Word on their own golems anymore, but I always thought that to be pretty strong. Because in addition to what it was already the good regeneration, makes it like so difficult to kill, and now it's even more so. Golem immolation area of effect increased by 50, and the Flaming Fists, that's a nerf. But the rest are pretty much buffs.
Yeah. The thing is, the old Warlock, the Flaming Fist, was a really big part of what made the ultimate strong, because they drop down, the enemy gets stunned for a little while, and the Infernals get to hit once or twice. And Flaming Fist dealt a lot of damage, even through BKB. So now with the chance reduced, and the damage type being magical, that's a big nerf, and they're just trying to compensate for it by buffing the golems in lots of other ways. Attack range, attack time, so it'll deal more physical damage, but less Flaming Fist damage. And the immolation's a bit better. I don't know,
225
overall...
range.
Overall, I think the golems are worse now, but
Just because they don't go
Fatal
to
Bonds is
BKB?
better.
I mean, obviously the initial stun will, but...
What else was that?
No, the 225 range, is that like a tiny Ags range?
Uh,
Similar.
yeah,
That's
I think
pretty.
similar.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's good, but they're not faster, so they still need to keep up, and they're not that quick at moving. So, I don't know. It's better sometimes, worse sometimes. Pretty even.
Weaver, swarm duration increased. Don't know why. I thought it was even at level 1. Pretty damn good. 8 seconds. 14 seconds is ridiculous. At this point, I don't even know if you get more than one level of this to start with, for sure. Shikuchi no longer ignores invisible units. I always wondered why that was even in there. Shikuchi damage reduced a bit as well at the earlier levels, looks like.
All 3 levels until 4th, yeah.
Geminate attack now procs items. So crit works. So MKB works. Maelstrom, which is insane to think about. And Geminate attack cooldown increased for the
Yeah, in
last level.
theory
What
you
do you think?
can crit both the first and the second attack with Gemini attack. Uh, I think the main interesting interactions with this are, of course, the procs that don't have cooldown, right? So you can't get, let's say, Basher, which was still shit on Weaver with a 10%, but you wouldn't be able to bash on both hits. And every single item that has diminishing returns will still have that, or pseudo-random rather. So if the first attack of your dual attack procs the orb, the chance that the second one will is lower. I still think it should work that way. Yes, it is good, but overall, I guess that's a nerf for... Wait, couldn't the second attack of Gemini proc before? Like crit?
No.
It couldn't proc orbs, it also couldn't crit, you're sure?
I'm almost positive. Like,
Okay, so that's a buff to the crit build. Oh, apart from that, not the biggest of deals, I think. Crit and MKB are the main things.
yeah. I mean, people will get Stygian or Deso, but obviously
That
the
doesn't
second
matter.
attack doesn't really matter at all because the first one
Exactly.
procs anyway. Okay.
Okay.
That should be interesting. Windrunner, refuse to say that name. Shackle Shot max latch distance has been increased by 50, and Windrun duration increased. I don't know if this changes anything, but
It's a big buff.
I kind of like the way
Windrun is
Windrunner
insane.
is being played in pubs where she's like a carry because her like Ags and her ulti are actually good. This doesn't
Yeah,
change that at all, but maybe the
it's
Windrun
definitely a
second.
way of playing it, and I think it's been tried in competitive too, playing her either as a position 1 or as a mid with that kind of build, and it can work. I think the biggest deal here is the shackle shot range, because it's not just that you can hit targets further away, it's that because of that you can hit more targets, right? There's a bigger chance in a team fight or in an area that you'll be able to latch to some sort of creep, some sort of tree. Just 50 range makes a really big difference for this hero. There's going to be way bigger chance of hitting a shackle, and it's harder to dodge.
I guess it's
And
tough
then in
to
addition to that, giving her a
visualize.
second on Windrun on the highest level, pretty good. I like this.
Witch Doctor. Maledict area of effect increased. I feel like is it the thing that gets buffed every patch? Maledict, some
Yeah.
way, one way or another.
Still has the same cast range though.
And Death Ward bounces now behave the same way as Death Ward attacks with regards to Blade Mail. So, explain this part to me. If you use Death Ward, let's say it doesn't bounce at all. You have it on one hero and they use Blade Mail. You're saying that doesn't get reflected to you, even before this patch?
So the way I'm reading
Am I
this
reading
is
this wrong?
that beforehand, the bounces from the Death Ward trigger Blade Mail, whereas the first attack of the Death Ward itself did not redirect it to Witch Doctor. So it must have been coded in a way so that the first instant of damage from the ward was dealt by the ward, and the next ones were dealt by Witch Doctor. Now all the instances of damage are dealt by the ward. So Witch Doctor cannot be countered with Blade Mail with his ult anymore.
I see.
Right? Right.
Because I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that
Did you know
either.
that?
It's such a gimmicky play.
Yeah, that's really
but-
weird. Wraith King reincarnation mana cost increased by 20. All right.
Okay.
That's
Bit of a nerf.
all right. Do the math because I don't even remember. What does a full wand give you in mana?
225.
What about unupgraded?
150.
That's a pretty big deal
And
then.
Soul Ring gives you 150, which means you cannot Soul Ring reincarnate anymore.
Yeah, I figured
If
it
you
might
have
be
0.
something to do with that. Because before, obviously, you just pop one of those before you die, you're good to go. Now you have to have 10 mana in the bank to be able to do that.
Yep.
Obviously, very situational in some cases. But if there's an anti-mage who is just buffed big time with that like 2 strength gain or whatever it was, gonna be picked all the time now, obviously. Zeus static field area of effect increased by 200. Okay. It's a really good passive. I want to see this hero. This hero is freaking awesome. Especially since the last changes where you can click on the ground. Okay. Items. God, I can't believe we're already at the items. It's only been like 3 hours. Okay, items. Armlet of Mordigian. Recipe cost reduced.
Oh,
Don't think this is really not going to change anything though. I mean, either you pick it up on a hero or you don't. Like the hero's made for
It's
it
just
or
a
not.
buff
You
to
know?
the heroes that would get it anyway.
Yeah. So Chaos Knight, another buff, slightly.
Lifestealer.
But then again, if you remember the
Sniper
nerf,
if you're
the
Dr.
original
Lee.
nerf. Yeah, that's true. That was legit. Holy crap, that was legit. AC. Assault Curse no longer displays its debuff on the enemy when the carrier is not visible.
That's
there's
really important.
yes.
That's
Like
good.
if it's Radiance or something, obviously there's an actual effect there, but you can disable it yourself.
Yeah.
Assault Curse you have no choice, but now you do. Or now you don't need to worry about it, so that's good. Okay, so this is in my top 5 of biggest changes of the patch. BKB, avatar spell immunity, duration, and cooldown are not tied to the hero instead of the item. And minimum immunity duration increase. Okay, so it can only get as low as 5, which is a buff. But if you, of course, you can't sell BKB, remember. You put it on the ground, you buy a new one, it will still be 5 seconds. Enormous nerf. Huge nerf. Biggest nerf, perhaps, of this patch. Your thoughts?
It's a big nerf to the super late gamers that depend on this item, for sure.
Which are a ridiculous amount of heroes, I feel like.
Yeah, it's very crucial for games that go to like 60 minutes, because generally you don't buy your second BKB before that point. But in ultra late game games, those will be ended in a different way than a carry getting a new 10-second BKB.
Yeah.
But the item itself is still the same. It's a very heavy nerf in that type of game, which is 1 out of 20 competitive games. But in those games, it's huge. And the thing that stays in all the games is the fact that the minimum is 5, which will affect way more games, and that one's a buff. So I don't know, really.
I don't know. I think it's just still... Okay, so when using BKB, and this was already the case to some degree, now you have to be super careful at your usage. You don't want to waste your BKB charge. It is so much more important. Yeah. I like this change. I think BKB was too good.
I guess this also means that the minimum cooldown of BKB is now 5 seconds higher, because the old BKB lost 5 seconds cooldown with each usage.
Mm-hmm.
So that last tier of the BKB is now gone. So it has a 5-second higher cooldown on the ladder level. That's also a nerf in a way, right?
Barely, but yeah. Okay, Blink Dagger. Gold increased by 100. I mean, this is probably the best item in the game, so saw it coming. I say it time and time again, and I think you agree with me. It's probably overpowered, but that's fine. It makes things much more exciting. It makes a lot more heroes viable.
Yep.
I don't mind it, and I'm fine with the extra 100, whatever. If it was 3,000, still buy it. So, Bloodstone now requires Soul Ring and an 800 gold recipe instead of Perseverance. So it's basically 150 gold cheaper, and it no longer grants the 10 damage, which, whatever. I mean, I don't even know why Perseverance gives 10 damage, but whatever. I consider this a buff overall.
To most heroes.
Like, who are we getting on this? Like, Tinker occasionally, especially now that he's nerfed in other areas.
For sure.
Timbersaw for sure.
Leshrac.
Like, are these heroes that typically buy Soul Ring, is the question.
Exactly, and it's not, right? So, but maybe now heroes that want Soul Ring anyway will be interested in getting this item, because Soul Ring can actually be used for something now. It had no upgrade before. It was an item you bought for early game and then you sold it in mid game. Now you can use it. This is a buff to Tinker in the Bloodstone sense, but I think it's a nerf to Timbersaw because he really can't use Soul Ring that well, to be honest, in the offlane. I don't think so. Leshrac, do you want Soul Ring over Perseverance? I don't know. On that hero, you generally want to get the the Soul Booster first, I would say, in most cases. Who else gets Bloodstone? Death Prophet. Soul Ring better than Perseverance. And again, that's a hero where you get the Perseverance last. So.
Yeah.
Overall, it's cheaper. The minus 10 damage, I would agree with you, really doesn't matter that much because the heroes that get this don't want physical damage. So I can agree to a buff overall and making it interesting on new heroes.
I think it's a cool item. I want to see a little bit more of it. Bottle. Gold cost increased by 50. Just continually get some nerfs. But of course, keep in mind that mid is a lot different now.
Bottle is better now.
Yeah, Bottle, you're going to be picking up runes no matter what, unless supports steal them from you. So, okay. Boots of Travel, teleport cooldown reduced.
Yep, Honey Talk to Ice Frog.
Yep, definitely.
It's good that they're better than Town Post Scroll in that regard.
And he got another, I mean, the two items he picks up consistently are both buffed in this patch, so yeah, I think you're definitely right about that.
Not a coincidence, huh?
Yeah.
No.
Butterfly, this one's really cool. Butterfly now has an active ability called Flutter, which can be cast to trade Butterfly's evasion for a 20% movement speed bonus for 8 seconds with a 35-second cooldown. So evasion is lost during that 8 seconds, but you get the bonus movement speed. It's like kind of like a Windrunner, except no evasion. But I think it's really cool. I really like that.
This is great against, if you're playing a carry and you're playing against a team with MKBs, or just one MKB that hard counters your Butterfly, you have a way of creating a gap. Because your evasion is obviously completely useless against that. And what often happens in late game scenarios is that the Butterfly is good against 1 or 2 heroes, and those 1 or 2 heroes get MKB, and then it loses a lot of its value. So this is a way of at least giving you some sort of functionality for the 1800 you paid for the Talisman of Evasion.
Mm-hmm.
It gives some interesting plays, and it will also give some interesting fails where you think you're ahead, and the enemy realizes you use Flutter, and then they turn around on you and just completely crush you. So, pretty interesting.
Cloak, Hood, and Pipe magic resistances now stack like all other normal magic resistances do.
Okay, I'm not sure what was wrong before.
They
had a worse stacking pattern or a better one?
I mean, they diminishingly stack. Wasn't that always the case?
Well, they still do that, right?
Yeah. Well, that.
It's just when you combine Cloak and Hood or Cloak and Pipe.
Oh,
or Hood
I see.
and Pipe,
I
they
see.
stack differently. Right?
Okay, so before they were
know.
useless. Yeah, if you had a, yeah, that's right. If you had a cloak, and then a hood on top
then
of
only
that.
the hood worked, or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I
yeah,
know.
that makes sense.
It's really gimmicky. Anyway.
Brand new item to the game, ladies and gentlemen. Crimson Guard. I'm kind of excited for this. I mean, it's not like crazy in your face, but it's pretty cool. Crimson Guard is now comprised of. I have like a British accent there. It's now comprised of a Vanguard, Buckler, and a recipe. So Vanguard, an item. Everybody's like, let's find a way to upgrade this, please. They found a way. Buckler had no. Similar, I guess. I mean, you have the. What's it called?
Mech?
Shit. Well, part of the mech. What's the headdress, right? Headdress of rejuvenation.
Yeah.
So the headdress can be turned into a pipe or a mech. Buckler is only a mech. So I really like that.
Yep.
So it provides 250 HP, 6 HP regen, passive damage, 80% chance to block 40, 20 melee ranged, 5 armor, 2 stats. So the active is what's interesting. Gives nearby ally, and actually I have a question about this for you. Gives nearby allied heroes in a 750 range 2 armor and a damage block shell that has a 100% chance to block 50 damage, and it lasts 9 seconds. Okay. Does this block 50 damage from each instance of damage for that 9 seconds?
Yes.
I really like this item. I really like it. What are your thoughts?
At least that's how I interpret it. Also, I think it's shit, so it has to be that way.
Yeah, it just blocks 50 damage one time.
Also, it blocks a grand total of 250. It's like, yay,
Yeah.
we want to make Vanguard even worse. Let's see. So I think this is really cool. It's one of the items where, because it's so fundamentally different from what we have, we just have to try it in play and see if it's broken or not. So I can't really say if this is good or bad. I just love the idea. And then we might need to tweak it.
Well, more than anything,
really
I like
cool.
the idea of having like a contrast to the game where you have the Vanguard and Buckler which have no upgrade ability. You fix that, and then you have kind of like a counter, not a counter, but like the opposite of a pipe, you know, like a mirroring effect, if you will, blocking physical damage for the team. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. But yeah, it could be garbage. I don't know. It seems cool. Seems good. So we'll just have to wait and see. Very happy about that. Dagon, intelligence bonus per level increased from blah 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 to blah blah blah. Excellent. And energy burst mana cost increase. So nerf, especially this last one.
It's a
Huge
nerf
to Tinker.
And who else refreshes Dagon? You can only refresh it with a refresher orb, apart from Rearm. So pretty much Tinker in your face, and everyone else don't really care.
But you get 4 extra intelligence.
Yeah, on a Dagon 5. So again, it's one of those cases where it's slightly better sometimes and slightly worse sometimes, but overall it's probably mainly worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Not the biggest of deal for anyone else in Tinker.
Right. Actually, somebody in chat brought up a good point that I forgot about, or didn't forget about, but it's kind of in the same way. Vanguard and Buckler, I was talking about no upgrade ability. Soul Booster is another one of those items where it's just like, it's garbage unless you build a Bloodstone, obviously. There's no reason to get it unless you get a Bloodstone. And I think that's another item perhaps in the future that they could look at to find a way to use it for something else, because I think there's a lot of opportunities for that. So would be cool to see. Diffusal Blade recipe cost reduced by 150. The agility bonus has been rebalanced. Okay. It's a little bit better. But the feedback rebalance is overall worse. If you're planning to upgrade it, it's worse. What's the reason for this? Other than using numbers that aren't 36 for no reason.
So let's see, what it does now is you pay 700 gold. So first of all, Diffusal 1 is just flat out better, right? Apart from, now you lose 5 agility, but you get 5 mana burn and 150 reduced cost. So maybe they're even, roughly, right?
Yeah.
So after that, you pay 700 gold, but 15 agility. basically, and a restock on charges. So I think the main reason for doing this is to make the Diffusal 2 way more appealing, because beforehand people would get Diffusal 1, and they would get Diffusal 1 for the Purge and not for other reasons. But now Diffusal 2 is actually worth it stat-wise. Getting 15 of an attribute for 700 gold is a really, really good trade-off.
All right, so something I'm going to predict that everybody's going to forget about, but it's going to happen, I promise you, because they're doing all these changes to make things easier. They're going to end up changing the way the charge system works. Like, it just seems so weird. Like, a lot of times you're using the Diffusal, like, I kind of want to upgrade it for the extra damage and extra agility and whatever, but I want to use my charges first. It's like this weird limbo, you know? It's really odd.
I personally wouldn't mind removing charges entirely from Diffusal Blade and then finding the right cooldown value.
Yeah, I think I'm fine
like
with
a 20-second cooldown item, but it has no charges.
Right.
But then the upgrade idea is kind of weird. Then there's no point. Right now, the upgrade system is to restock it as well. But
yeah. Well, just up the price of the recipe.
Overall, I guess I would call it a buff, because 15 agility is really a lot or it's only 5 more than it used to have on level 2. It's just what you pay compared to what you get makes more sense now. I guess that's the way of putting it.
Well, the feedback...
and level 1 Diffusal is really...
So, 36 mana removed, right? Does it deal equivalent damage, or is it half damage? Based on how much mana you're draining. Is it like 18 damage on top of the 36?
So you drain that amount of mana, and then I think you deal that amount in physical damage. But I'm
trying to remember, because I remember like Anti-Mage, it's 60% of his mana burn is damage. That might be the same actually, so it's less.
I'm finding it right now. Where's
okay.
Diffusal Blade? There it is. Okay. Causes your attacks to burn mana and deal bonus physical damage equal to the amount of mana burned. So it's physical 36, or now it's 25, and then armor reduction kicks in.
So this is 11 damage that's lost because of feedback being rebalanced, but 5 damage being gained only for agility heroes. I think this is a nerf.
Yeah. There's also recipe reduction cost. It's a cheaper item.
It's better at level 1.
I would agree. I think overall, well, it's hard to say because it's so situational. Let's just
okay. Let's
move.
Ethereal Blade. Ether Blast now has a projectile. It's 1100 speed.
Big
it's pretty fast.
Tinker nerf.
But yeah, again, this is just Tinker dumpster tier with these items. Of course, the hero still has its place, which I think is definitely needed because it's one of the more unique heroes in the game. The Blast also does not turn the caster ethereal unless he targets himself. Also a nerf for Tinker. He can just what he could do is just blink in, ethereal dag on somebody, not have to worry about physical damage being applied to him, and then just rinse repeat.
For other heroes, sometimes it's a buff, depending on what you want to do. Because now you can use it and then you can still attack afterwards. Beforehand, it was like a finisher. I think this is a buff to Morphling.
Yeah, that's true.
For example. Because you don't want to be ethereal yourself. You want to fight after. So.
But then you can't attack the target still. But
no, you can attack someone else afterwards. Else you would be gone for like 3 or 4 seconds, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Morphling, definitely a buff. So the other Hani item, Eye of Scotty, Frost attack speed, slow increased by 10. That's for the attack speed, not for the movement speed. Okay. This is a pretty big change. Flying Courier, base movement speed increased by 80, which is a pretty hefty amount, but at the same time, Flying Courier now takes 50% extra damage from melee heroes, so Bounty Hunter basically destroys couriers even more now. The Flying Courier speed burst cooldown increased from 40 to 90, which is huge as well. The actual speed burst only lasts for 4 seconds instead of 20, also a huge nerf. And the Flying Courier speed burst has been increased to 650, so faster than... What was Lycan again?
650.
Oh, he's the same speed as couriers now. Okay.
So the idea with this is that the speed burst is supposed to be an escape mechanism when it's about to get caught. This is how you save your courier. And apart from that, I haven't done the math on it, but I would assume that with the new values, bottle crowing is slower overall. Even though the base speed is higher, the fact that the speed burst is so short and the cooldown is so long, I think the courier overall is slow. So, yeah, it's definitely a nerf. But for all sorts of standard transfers where you just send out items and the courier speed burst would be on cooldown, is better. More streamlined in terms of its movement.
I'm not sure if the no, I shouldn't capture it. Okay, my cat turned off my screen. It should be fine. Okay. All right, we're ready to move on.
Yeah.
All right. Helmet of Dominator now provides +3 HP regeneration to match its components, and dominated units now have 250 bonus HP. Can you use this on Chen creeps? I can't remember.
So you want to start like a loop there.
What? Say what? You cut out.
You want to start a loop where Chen and enemy keep dominating each other's creeps and make a super creep?
Yeah. Is it possible?
I don't remember, actually. I'm gonna
say no. You're gonna say yes. I'm gonna say no.
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Well, that. I mean. Okay.
That's interesting.
But you can like dominate like. I mean, I think it's cool for. You don't really see it that often, but getting like the crit creep, the wolf, it seems so fragile. You know, follows you. Now it's got 250 bonus HP. It's good to go. Can take some hits. Good stuff. Hood of Defiance HP regeneration increased to match its components. All right.
Cool.
Lycan Sphere only blocks rat. Okay, so a lot of stuff that is like kind of lightning based or chain spell. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the phrase? So stuff similar to like arc lightning, I guess, will not block it.
Abilities that have jumps.
Yeah, jumping skills.
Bounces.
I don't know if that's true for all of them though, because you don't see what's it called, Mystic Snake on here. Maybe that was already fixed. I don't know.
I'm not sure. It's just a fix. The item is still the same, so it's fine.
Lightning Bolt for Zeus now triggers Lycans when it's cast on the ground, as it should, even though it's technically not single target in that case. And I guess the big one, I didn't even realize that was the case. Yeah, that's really weird that it did that.
Okay.
Maelstrom recipe cost increased. All right, it's picked up very often, so I think that's fine. Manta style mirror image vision type changed from unobstructed / flying to ground. Oh, that's right. So when you use Manta before, you'd get unobstructed vision around you just for like however long, like briefly, right?
Quarter of a second, I think.
Yeah. So that, I guess, was considered a bug or something, and the recipe has been reduced a bit. So any thoughts on that, or move on?
I think that's fine overall. It's just a slight buff to Manta, which has kind of fallen out of favor because of Mjolnir in particular taking over quite a bit for those heroes. So it's good to see them just trying to push them more even.
Mask of Madness recipe reduced by 100. All right. Eternal Envy will be happy about that. Mechanism restore mana cost increase by 75. This is big, especially for heroes like Razor. We brought up Troll Warlord. Heroes that aren't really don't have big intelligence, don't have big mana pools. Yeah, Viper especially. It's a huge pick. I mean, do you just not pick this up now?
I don't know. It's more. I felt like this nerf was too hard. I would have liked to see it. Like, I like the idea of making it more expensive, so it's more selective with who this item actually fits. But I think this is a really big change, and I would have liked to see it tweaked to like 200 or something, because this, like, 75 mana is a really big deal for those heroes. And perhaps it's perfect that it gets changed like this, but we'll just have to see it in play. It definitely affects your thought process. I think a hero like Troll, it's still fine on, because his mana costs are really minimal, and he often goes for a bottle in the mid lane too, so you'll be okay. But heroes like Viper, who need to use poison attack a lot and has a fairly expensive ultimate.
Well, what if you pick up
Razor?
Well, why not pick bottles up on those heroes now? I mean, you're going to get a guaranteed rune every time.
Yeah, you would.
Maybe pick the bottle up on them now.
Bottle and Viper is kind of meh. You want to dominate your lane with something else than a bottle.
It's pretty garbage, but yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when it gets into play.
Pipe HP, we already talked about it. It's basically the same as Hood. Refresher Orb reset cooldown increased by 25. Okay. Yeah. People have been picking that up a lot more often.
Yeah, I think this is a way of nerfing, because there's a lot of heroes who get a massive benefit from the Refresher Orb in the late game, and that the overlap between the cooldown on the ultimate and the Refresher Orb now makes a lot more sense for abilities like Ravage, Black Hole.
Yeah.
What else is there? Sanity's Eclipse, RP.
This might even incentivize people to use their skills in conjunction, because I know when most people look at like a Ravage and you get a Refresher Orb, like, okay, we use it both at the same time. But a lot of cases, like you just said, you use your ult, you refresh right away, and then you have that ability ready to go for the next fight if needed. You don't need it for that fight specifically.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way to use it, and this nerfs that in particular.
Yep.
Ring of Protection, armor increased by 1, and the gold increased by 25. Okay.
I want to touch on that briefly. We're almost at the end as well.
Sure.
So the reason I like this change a lot, actually, is that first of all, the gold value now, the way it fits into starting item builds with what it costs, I think 200 is a good number with your starting gold. The extra armor point is really useful for offlaners, and it also, I would like to say that until this point, there's kind of been this, like, at least in my mind, when you're playing a melee hero and you want to try to farm, Stout Shield is just generally better than Ring of Protection. And if you're playing a ranged hero, Ring of Protection is just better than Stout Shield, right? So when you're a melee hero now, depending on what way you're planning on going with your build, starting with a Ring of Protection is a lot more appealing right now because that extra armor point is actually a lot. And also the way, if you look at how stat items scale in how much they cost per point in the attribute they give, like Gauntlets of Ogre Strength, 150 gold for 3 strength, and then the belt costs 450 for 6. So the relative scaling of how much gold you pay per point, this makes more sense in the chain of Ring of Protection to Chainmail to Plate Mail. Mm-hmm. It just fits the game better that it's a better item.
OCD 200, but
yeah?
It's 3 armor now, so I don't know.
Definitely a better item.
Evens out, I guess. Sentry Ward, True Sight, area of effect increased from 800 to 850. Was this originally 900 or 1,000 before?
I think it was bigger. This is mainly important for areas like the river. Of course, that's remade now with the new Roche Pit, the place I was thinking about, but I think this allows you to counter ward blocking wards a little bit better, so that if you have 2 sentry wards, you can safeguard every single camp now with this extra 50 range, or some camps you can even cover completely with 1. That's the main part of it. Of course, there's more chasing potential against invisible heroes, so...
Sure.
Fine.
Shadow Blade, Shadow Walk invisibility break damage now increased by 25. Extra damage, okay. Shiva's Guard, similar to what we saw before, Freezing Aura. The debuff will not show if you're invisible. And last but not least, but a pretty awesome addition here.
Love this chain.
TP Scroll, 100 gold now, boys. Should always have one.
So this is mainly, of course it's relevant to every single role in the game, but relative to their income, this is more important for supports than cores.
Yeah.
Now the one thing that could be happening with this that we might see is, you know, especially in competitive play, it's not uncommon that the supports buy TP scrolls for their cores so they can get out and get their core items faster. Now that TPs are cheaper, perhaps the supports can actually find more gold to buy more TPs for the carries, and that means the carries get items quicker. But the main thing about it, of course, is just that the supports themselves can afford TPs a lot more and itemize more. So this is, I think the main purpose of this is to make supports stronger earlier in the game. And it really does matter. This 35 gold is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of buffs for supports in the last few patches. I mean, even the XP and gold stuff that we talked about earlier coincides with that. The Tranquils were introduced, I mean, I guess it's been a long time now, but relatively speaking, it's kind of a new addition to Dota still. Supports are happier, so that's good. Okay, I think we're done. Are we done with this giant
what a short
patch
analysis that was.
So you predicted 2 hours. It is 3.5, so pretty close.
It's better than last time, right?
That's true. Last time you said 2 hours and it was 4, so...
Because you talk so much. Like,
it's all me.
You wouldn't... I think we share...
We
have a fair share in it each.
That's fine. So,
closing thoughts. What do you think overall? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Was it what you imagined?
No, it's not quite what I imagined, but so I'm looking at some of the pictures. The Crimson Guard, I'm excited to see possibilities with that. I think that's pretty cool. The changes to the tower not being as easy to push, basically, or incentivizing less pushing, I guess, or 5-ball strats. The new bounty rune, I'm not 100% sold on it. It could be good. I just want to see it in action first. I know it was something in Han, like I said. I don't know what the actual results were, though. You know, I'm sure that. I mean, this is obvious. I'm sure they looked into it and saw that it was successful. So I would assume it's going to be good. But I think the mid lane is going to be one of the bigger changes, along with the Roche Pit. So it should be fun to see what comes about. How about you, syndereN?
I'm really happy with most of the stuff. I think we pretty much covered it along the way. That there's a couple of things I'm a little unsure about, but overall, a lot of the changes to the metagame, to the map. I think if I had to choose 3 favorite things, the Roshan change I think is really good. I like the fact that there's less Roshan dire bias now. I think one thing we forgot to touch upon is that the creeps for the off lanes now start closer to the respective towers for so the Dire or further away for the Radiant and closer for the Dire. So the off lane's starting position are also more similar. So they're trying to make the sides more even in that regard.
Oh, interesting.
So
It's almost like they're trying to make it a symmetrical map.
Don't worry, we won't get to that.
Interesting one, huh, syndereN?
It's really good to see that balanced out for the sides. I really like the idea of the Crimson Guard like you did. And what's the third thing I should choose? I know there's just so many things honestly.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
just
a lot of
okay.
things.
Let's put it this way. Positive all the way through, pretty much. A couple of weird changes, but I think it's taking the game in a good direction. And I think the upcoming metagame, which is what I guess I'm most interested in, the competitive aspect of it, I think we're going to see a lot of new picks, and old heroes are going to come back because of it. So,
yep, should be fun.
really excited for the tweaks.
Just saying, if my prediction about the symmetrical map eventually comes true, you have to give me kudos, okay?
If the map becomes completely symmetrical,
yes.
That's years away. Trust me.
I'm not saying it's not years away. I said 2 years. That's my
like
prediction.
50.
But you have to remember this moment. Okay, it's on video. It's on record.
Printed.
This is the
Printed
first
in
step
my
in the
mind.
right direction. Because I'm a proponent of the whole Roche stuff being symmetrical, but I'm in the minority. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, on stream and on YouTube. If the patch isn't out by the time this video is out, people are asking when it's coming. I have no idea. None of us know. But this is in the test client, so if you really want to test it out, just download that. All right, so thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.